Good evening. Day 22. Put yourself into a better place. I'm Robert Gibbons. And our great governor here in New York has said there are healers in the land. And I decided that I would use the literary art to bring healing to myself and to others. And thank you all for those of you that have really reached out and showed your compassion to not only me, but the entire community of writers and poets and artists that I know. And we appreciate all that you do. And I wanted to always, as always, pay honor and homage to my mother, Dorothy, to my father, Robert, to my grandmothers, Versi and Maddie, and to my grandfathers, Sammy and Jethro Ashe. Day 22, put yourself into a better place. And I decided to do this project because it gives me a sense of connection and healing and camaraderie in a time where isolation and exile can be so difficult for you and me. And so, in order to maintain a sort of equilibrium, I decided that I would read and be near to my closest Louis Armstrong statue. This is Louis. And I found Louis on a trash dump and I rescued him. And so Louis is here in my living room with me today, entertaining me. I have several poems from you, from friends in the literary atmosphere. And the first one comes from a dear friend by the name of Jane Lowry. And Jane's book is entitled, Who Are We? Who Are We? And the title of her poem is, In a Dream, My Dead Father. Around the corner you go, half wrapped, dragging my old quilt. Hey, Daddy, I want to say, come back. That's my quilt. And I read it again. In a dream, my dead father. Around the corner you go, half wrapped, dragging my old quilt. Hey, Daddy, I want to say, come back. That's my quilt. And the title of that poem is In a Dream, My Dead Father by Jane Lowry. Who are we? Who are we? Thank you, Jane, for blessing us. The next poem is from the French writer Charles Baudelaire. And the title of his book is Flowers of Evil. And I want to read one poem from Baudelaire's book called The Voice. My bassinet against the wall of books was thrust, a gloomy babble where fiction, science, and fablao, everything Latin, ashes and Hellenic dust, mingled in chaos. When I was high as a folio, two voices spoke to me. The note, insidious, firm, was saying, Earth is a most delicious cake. Be wise. I can give you an appetite of compromising size. The other voice said, come travel into dreams, for out, beyond the possible, beyond the known. The voice was like the wind along the shore that seems a music out of nowhere, into nowhere blown, crying phantom to frighten yet to captivate. And I replied, I will, delightful voice. Then I fell, when one may call, alas, the special curse, the fate that still pursues me, always behind the spectacle of this immense existence. In this unscarred abyss, I see distinctly, extraordinarily, world on world, and ravished victim of my own clear-sightedness. I go with stinging serpents round my ankles curled, since then like the old prophets waiting for a sign. I love most tenderly the desert and the sea. I find a curious savory in bitter wine. I smile at the saddest moments. I weep amid piety. I take back for illusion, and often as not with eyes fixed confidently on heaven, I fall into holes. But that voice speaks to me, guard, fool, your dreams. And the title of that poem is called The Voice, from The Flowers of Evil by the French poet Charles Baudelaire. Thank you, Charles, for blessing us. The next poem I'd like to share with you is from Equi's book, Surface Tension. Surface Tension by Equi. Surface Tension. And the title of her poem is What We Look Forward to. To open like so many eyes in the body, big and odd as the moon or speech rushing up a mountain. After a long illness, I said, there is this book you would enjoy and must really read, though it isn't very good. There are lots of windows in it, held together by no more than a thought, just as you are no more than a thought, that I think while looking out of those windows, which open like so many eyes in the body. For to enter into its ledger forces a change in perspective, not only a new way of seeing, but also of being. All that you know and are no more than a thought, but one that I think nearly of all the time. And the title of that poem is What We Look Forward to by Equi's Surface Tension. Thank you, Equi. We said that we are looking for healing. Our wonderful governor, Andrew Cuomo, has told us there are healers in the land. And so I decided that I would read in order to heal myself. And maybe you might do some other type of art, or you might do some other type of community service, or you might reach out to people that are in isolation. My final poem for you is from one of my favorite poets, Frank O'Hara. And Frank O'Hara's book, this is the collection of Frank O'Hara. And so I'm going to read one short excerpt from Frank O'Hara's poem, his long poem, The Memory of Feelings. Thank you so much for being in my virtual company. And thank to all my friends that reached out to me. Thank you to Virginia for talking to me today. I appreciate the call. Thank you for all of the food pantries that serve this community and this neighborhood and this city. Thankful all the healthcare workers, all the ambulances, the police, all of the people that get up and still work during this time of martial law here in New York. I really appreciate what you do. And I know we don't say it enough, but I want to say it in order to share my part as a writer and an artist in this particular city at this particular time. And Frank O'Hara's book, Frank O'Hara lived in New York during his time, and he wrote about his feelings. And the title of this poem is The Memory of My Feelings. And I'll read one excerpt from his poem. My quietness has a man in it. He is transparent, and he carries me quietly like a gondola through the streets. He has several likenesses, like stars and years, like numerals. My quietness has a number of naked selves. So many pistols I have borrowed to protect myself from creatures who too readily recognize my weapons and have murder in their hearts. Though it's winter, they are warm as roses in the desert, taste of chill, at times withdrawn. I rise into the cool skies and gaze on at the imponderable world with the simple identification of my colleagues, the mountains. Manfred climbs to my nape. Speak, but I do not hear him. I'm too blue. An elephant takes up his trumpet. Money flutters from the window of cries. Silk stretches its mirror across shoulder blades. A gun is fired. One of me rushes to the window, number 13, and one of me raises his whip, and one of me flutters up from the center of the track walks amidst the pink flamingos, and underneath their houses, as they round the last turn, my lips are scarred and brown, brushed by tails, masked in dirt's lust. Definition. Open mouths, gasping for the cries of their betters, for the lungs of earth. And so many of my transparencies could not resist the race. Terror in earth, dried mushrooms, pink feathers, tickets, a flaking moon drifting across the muddled teeth, the imperceptible moan of covered breathing. Love of the serpent. I am underneath in leaves, as the hunter crackles and pants and bursts, as the barrage balloons drift behind the cloud, and animal death whips out its flashlight, whistling and slipping the glove of a trigger's hand. The serpent's eye, redder at sight of those thorny fingernails, he is so smooth. And my transparent self flails about like vipers in a pail, writhing and hissing without panic, with a certain justice of response. And presently the aquiline serpent comes to resemble the Medusa, healing in the land. And today we started off hearing from Who Are We by Jane Lowry. And then we heard Flowers of Evil by the French poet Charles Baudelaire. And then I read to you Surface Tension by New York poet Elaine Equi. And I finally ended it with the complete works of Frank O'Hara. Healing can be found in many ways. It can be found in many places. And so today, day 22, put yourself into a better place. I'm Robert Gibbons. I appreciate your virtual company.